So you've written a novel.
I have.
Tell me what brought you to write.
Well, I guess the story starts in November of 2008. I was in law school at the time, and I recall the feeling on campus was just it was effervescent. I was a third-year law student, and typically, from what I heard from my upperclassmen, third years don't go to law school class. In those days, everyone was on campus because they were hungry to talk about and to hear information about what people were thinking about this election. And I remember election night, still vivid, still emotional for me. I recall my friends and watching them and their reactions, and then the words that this changes everything, this changes race, this transforms society, things will never be the same. And I was intensely skeptical, and I felt bad about it because I wanted to really kind of join them in this euphoria, in this moment. But all I could think about was, I'm a history major, I was a history major, and history is replete with examples of moments like this where something big happens and everyone just assumes, this is it, this changes everything. And then here come the bad guys. I guess it was January of 2009. I was at the festivities in DC for the inauguration, and a family friend asked me if I wanted to help him run for U.S. Senate, to join the staff. And I thought at the time, this is ridiculous, you can't win. Which is ironic, given what we later found in North Carolina. But I ended up joining the campaign because I wanted to test the Obama thesis, which was, at the time, that this changes everything. This will transform society, it will transform race, it will transform politics. And I went down to North Carolina, and we found that the pushback to progress was coming not from the traditional circles you'd expect. It wasn't coming from so-called limousine liberals. It wasn't coming from, conservatives. It was coming from a lot of African Americans. It was coming from a lot of white progressives, people that had been on the front lines of the Obama train just months before. And I just couldn't understand how it was that they were so optimistic about this Barack Obama character, and then a matter of months later they were now saying, no, you can't do this. You're a black man in North Carolina, you can't win, or wait your turn. We're not ready for this. And so I started to think about that while I was actually on the campaign as we were going through the primary. We lost in the primary, but I was thinking about a larger American tendency that this represented. And I came up with this term, and I guess in connection with the candidate, we kind of both came up with it, but the demonstration project, which is an American commitment to commit. We have a tendency to have these broad ideals, whether it's about the equality of all before the law, gender rights, etc. And we get committed to the idea of the change. We don't commit to the underlying work that is required to bring about the change. And I now believe that what we saw in 2008 was exactly that. White, black, Asian, etc. Americans got behind this shiny idea, but they weren't prepared to do the work required to bring about the change. So in 2010, on this election I was working, that cycle, you see all across the country examples of candidates who, in theory, were kind of the Obama ilk. They should have kind of at least, they should have sailed through, really, under the same logic of Obama's thesis about what he was going to bring to the country. And what happened is we kind of sat back and said, what, Barack, we did this great thing, go do it, take care of it, change the country. And looking back now, it's enraging, really. I have to take a moment to calm myself down when I think about it, but we had this window, this very short, brief window in which we could have actually delivered the change that we voted for in 2008. And instead we squandered it. And so the goal of the book, the larger goal that I have with everything that I do now, but specifically with the book, is to inspire young people, people that I think of as what I call the auditors and arbiters of change, to spend less time complaining about what's not being done or what's being done to them, and spend more time taking control of the political process. I know that in North Carolina, if you look at the primary numbers, African Americans can easily dictate the outcome of primaries. And it's sad to think that we don't take seriously the political power that we hold.